The story that you are about to hear is a compilation of documented true facts, featuring characters, events, or places that has played a role in shaping history. Please sit back and listen as I recite this narrative for you.
The FBI sting operation known as Abscam, launched in March 1978, led to the conviction of a U.S. Senator, 6 congressmen, 3 Philadelphia City Council members, and the mayor of Camden, New Jersey, for taking bribes from undercover agents pretending to be the Arab sheiks. The 2-year investigation initially targeted trafficking in stolen property and corruption of prominent businessmen, but later evolved into a public corruption investigation. The FBI was aided by the Justice Department and a convicted conman in videotaping politicians accepting bribes from a fictitious Arabian company in return for various political favors. The FBI secretly filmed the transactions in hotel rooms in New York and Philadelphia, a yacht in Miami, and a mansion in Washington, D.C. The operation stunned Congress, led to widespread criticism of the Justice Department for engaging in entrapment tactics, and later inspired the 2013 film American Hustle. The operation was directed from the FBI's office in Hauppauge, New York, and was under the supervision of Assistant Director Neil J. Welsh, who headed the Bureau's New York Division, and Thomas P. Puccio, head of the Justice Department's Organized Crime Strike Force for the Eastern District of New York. The FBI operated the 2-year sting operation using a convicted conman, Melvin Weinberg, and his girlfriend Evelyn, who were facing prison sentences for financial fraud as informers and planners. They were facing a prison sentence at the time, and in exchange for their help, the FBI agreed to let them out on probation. Weinberg created a phony company, Abdul Enterprises, and FBI agents posed as owners or employees of the company. The FBI established a $1 million fund with the Chase Manhattan Bank in the name of the fictional company, Abdul Enterprises, giving the company the credibility it needed to further its operation. Dressed as Arab sheiks or claiming to represent 2 Arab owners of Abdul Enterprises, agents met with their targets in New York, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and Miami, and offered them envelopes or bags of cash in exchange for promises of political favors. All the while, the transactions were being videotaped by hidden cameras. When the scheme was first disclosed to the public, law enforcement authorities told reporters that Abscam stood for Arab Scam. However, after a judge presiding over one of the cases received a complaint from the American Arab Relations Committee, the judge said it was clear that the code name referred to Abdul Scam, in reference to the name of the fake company, Abdul Enterprises. No Middle Easterners were involved in the sting. Abscam started out as an operation to recover stolen artwork and fake securities. When one of the stock forgers suggested to the sheiks that they focus on bribing New Jersey state officials to obtain a casino license, the FBI, following the money, shifted its focus to political corruption. Weinberg then spread the word among his criminal associates that the sheiks were looking to break into Atlantic City casino gambling. Camden Mayor Angelo Errichetti, also a New Jersey state senator and a mover and shaker in New Jersey Democratic political circles, was the first government official to be caught in Operation Abscam. He contacted Abdul Enterprises and told the undercover agents he could deliver Atlantic City for them in exchange for monetary kickbacks. He then acted as middleman, introducing Abdul to Senator Harrison Williams, who also took the bait. Errichetti also introduced Michael Myers and Raymond Lederer to the company and arranged meetings for them with the undercover agents. He also introduced the Arab businessman to Frank Thompson Jr. By the middle of 1979, Errichetti had arranged meetings with an entire list of state and federal politicians who were willing to go in on the operation. He was convicted on the federal bribery charges, for which he served about 3 years in prison. Each congressman who was approached would be given a large sum of money in exchange for private immigration bills to allow foreigners associated with Abdul Enterprises into the country, and for building permits and licenses for casinos in Atlantic City, among other investment arrangements. Among the casino projects involved were the Ritz-Carlton Atlantic City, the Dunes Hotel and Casino Atlantic City, the Penthouse Boardwalk Hotel and Casino, and the Sheiks fictional casino. The FBI recorded each of the money exchange and for the first time in American history, secretly videotaped government officials accepting bribes. The meeting places included the house in the Foxhole neighborhood of Washington, D.C., which was owned by Lila's Cause, a yacht in Florida, and hotel rooms in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Each convicted politician was given a separate trial. During these trials, much controversy arose regarding the ethics of Operation Abscam. Many lawyers defending their guilty clients accused the FBI of entrapment. Every judge overruled this claim and each politician was convicted. The accused went to trial in 1980. 8 politicians were tried in federal court in Brooklyn, 2 in Philadelphia, and 2 in Washington. In the case of U.S. Senator Harrison A. Pete Williams, the highest-ranking political target, the sheik offered no money but instead offered to make him a silent partner with an 18% ownership of a titanium mine. Williams would be able to profit by steering government contracts to the mine in exchange for expediting the immigration process for the sheik and helping him get a piece of the casino construction and licensing action then underway in Atlantic City. Williams of Westfield, New Jersey, later argued in his defense that he received no money, but he was convicted nevertheless. Later appeals made by Williams included arguments that a main prosecution witness had perjured himself and that Williams had been a victim of entrapment. The guilty verdict was upheld and Williams was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Williams served 2 years of his 3-year sentence at a federal penitentiary in Newark, New Jersey. He served the remainder of his term at the Integrity House halfway house, where he became a member of the board of directors until his death by cancer on November 17, 2001. He also attempted to receive a presidential pardon from President Bill Clinton, but his request was denied. Williams was the first senator to be imprisoned in almost 80 years, and had the expulsion motion been approved, would have been the first senator to be expelled from the Senate since the Civil War. U.S. Representative Frank Thompson, a well-liked politician who had represented Trenton and Mercer County for 34 years, accepted a cash bribe of $50,000, also to help the sheik bypass immigration laws. On December 2, 1980, Thompson was indicted for bribery charges. Thompson spent $24,000 of campaign funds fighting the charges and appealing his conviction on grounds of entrapment. Thompson was convicted of bribery and conspiracy charges and served 3 years in prison as his sentence starting in 1983. He served 2 years before being released and worked as a consultant in Washington until his death in 1989. Congressman John M. Murphy, who represented Staten Island, met with the sheik the same day as Thompson but was not videotaped. Instead, he sent his attorney, Howard Criden, to pick up his $50,000 bribe at a hotel near JFK International Airport. Murphy's conviction differed from the other congressmen. His conviction was considered receiving an unlawful gratuity instead of bribery, but he served 3 years in prison for conspiracy charges only. Other congressmen caught in the scheme, each taking a $50,000 bribe, were John Jenrette, Richard Kelly, and representatives from districts including parts of Philadelphia, Raymond Lederer, and Michael O.Z. Myers. Myers famously told the undercover agents as he accepted his bribe that they were going about it the right way because money talks and bullshit walks. In 1982, the conviction of Richard Kelly was overturned on the grounds of entrapment. Kelly, the sole Republican, said that he was only pretending to be involved with the bribery from Abdul Enterprises. He claimed that he was conducting his own operation dealing with corruption and that the FBI was running his own investigation. However, an appeals court upheld the conviction and Kelly served 13 months in prison. John Jenrette was one of the few who resigned before they were expelled from the House. 3 Philadelphia City Council members, Council President George X. Swartz, Harry P. Gianotti, and Louis C. Johansson, all Democrats, were convicted of accepting a total of $65,000 in bribes during separate meetings in a suite of the Barclay Hotel in Philadelphia. FBI agents posing as the sheik's representatives told them he wanted to invest in a luxury hotel and coal facilities on the Delaware River, and they all promised to use their influence in city council to get those projects approved. In all, 19 people were convicted as a result of the Abscam, including Congressman Murphy's attorney, Howard Criden, Alexander A. Alexandro Jr., an immigrant official, and several businessmen. 2 other members of Congress met with the sting operators but were not prosecuted. John Murtha, who represented the 12th Congressional District in the coal country north of Pittsburgh, was named as an unindicted co-conspirator. The U.S. Department of Justice chose not to indict him, and he testified against Thompson and Murphy. Murtha turned down the $50,000 bribe, saying he would eventually take the money after working with the agents for a while, but he was not interested at this point. He always said that his only intent in meeting with the scammers was to bring jobs to his district. Murtha remained prominent in Congress and was re-elected by his constituency 19 times over the course of 36 years before his death on February 8, 2010. South Dakota U.S. Senator Larry Pressler met with the undercover agents in a mansion in Washington, D.C. at the behest of a neighbor. When they started talking about contributing to his campaign in exchange for help with the phony immigration matter, Pressler told them it would not be proper to accept the offer and left the meeting. Thus, he committed no crime. Williams resigned just before the U.S. Senate was scheduled to vote on his expulsion, and 5 of the 6 congressmen resigned to avoid expulsion. Philadelphia federal judge John P. Fulham had set aside the conviction of city councilmen Schwartz and Genotti on grounds of entrapment and prosecutorial misconduct, but the Third U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals overturned the ruling. Eventually, federal appeals courts either upheld or reinstated all of the convictions, and in 1983, the U.S. Supreme Court declined to review any of the Abscam convictions. In the aftermath of Abscam, Congress was concerned about the damage it had caused to the reputation of the legislative branch and sought to prevent the FBI from undertaking similar projects in the future without strict supervision. In 1981, U.S. Attorney General Benjamin Civiletti issued the first of several guidelines for FBI undercover operations, formalizing agency procedures for such undertakings, and Congress held several hearings exploring the issue of entrapment.
Hey everyone! I just wanted to express how grateful I am that you took the time to listen to my narration. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I am Twysted Mind, and please enjoy the rest of your day. Salamat!